Are there any persons present who would like to make, are there any persons who would like to make their presence known to the commission for the purpose of this consumer session? I do have your cards, and I'm calling them up. So just remember that if you'd like to speak, we've got plenty of cards out front, and they'll bring them in to me.
Dave Noble, I'm president.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Commissioner Noble as well, in Carson City. The record should reflect that the commission has in its files affidavits of publication for the notice of this consumer session for this time and place. Is there anyone present that has any questions on the notice or wishes to examine the affidavits on file? Hearing none, the commission deems this matter has been duly and properly noticed for consumer session at this time and place. So the purpose of the consumer session is to solicit comments from the public on issues concerning all the public utilities that we regulate across the state. And Mr. Saunders is here from the Bureau of Consumer Protection. I've asked him to kind of explain his role in the process. So, Mr. Saunders?
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Saunders. I'm a Senior Deputy Attorney General with the Nevada Attorney General's Bureau of Consumer Protection. Just briefly, the mission of the Bureau of Consumer Protection is to represent residential and small business ratepayers collectively before the Public Utilities Commission. Our role is to advocate for reliable utility service at the lowest reasonable cost on behalf of ratepayers. To do so, I work with a team of engineers, economists, accountants, as well as other attorneys to come up with positions that we do present to the PUC for its consideration in contested cases, as well as rulemakings and other types of cases. And that just briefly is what we do. If you have any questions of me, either during the session or after, I'm more than happy to address those. And with that, I look forward to hearing from you about your utility service, and I would close with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. And for staff, Ms. Cordova?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tammy Cordova. I'm staff counsel with the Public Utilities Commission, and I'm a member of what's called the Regulatory Operations staff here at the Commission. We're an independent part of the Commission. We are employees of the Commission, but we operate with a team of experts that investigate every single filing that any utility in the state makes at the Commission. We dissect the filing, we go on site, we do audits of the books and records, we go out into the field, we look at facilities, and our job is to review any request that any utility makes, and then we make a recommendation to the Commission. Whatever our recommendation is to the Commission, we do it publicly. We file it with the Commission, we show up in this hearing room, we present what we think is reasonable based on whatever the utility has asked for. The Commission then has the opportunity to take the input from the regulatory operations staff, from the consumer advocate, from the utility, and anyone else, and make a decision based on what the utility has asked for. Part of the regulatory operations staff includes the Consumer Complaint Resolution Division. We have a staff of folks that are available to answer specific questions or assist with specific matters that you may have with your utility provider, and some of them are here today. So if you have an issue that you want to discuss with the Commission today that's a very specific thing about your service, we might be able to resolve that for you offline after you've presented whatever concerns you have to the Commissioner. Thank you.
And this general consumer session, we hold these once a year. And it's we regulate more than just Nevada Energy or Southwest Gas. We operate also telephone service, some water service, but not in Clark County. So if he has issues with quality of service or other things with other utilities, I'm sure that the rate case for Nevada Power is uppermost in folks' minds right now. But there are a lot of other utilities we regulate, and so we have representatives from those utilities here as well. So if you have quality or other questions associated with those utilities, I suspect we can get all those questions answered here. So why don't we go ahead and start with the first cards, Mr. Gold from AARP.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chairwoman Burton-Shaw, staff, Bureau of Consumer Protection. For the record, my name is Barry Gold. I'm the Director of Government Relations for AARP Nevada. AARP is fighting for consumers to help save money on their utility bills. We'd like to thank the Public Utilities Commission for hosting the information session earlier this morning. I attended that with several people that were here, as well as other members of the public, and it was very beneficial, and it really helped people understand what is involved in very complicated technical rate cases not just to tell them what the difference between a BTER and a BTGR is, but also what the components of the rate case and how you go about doing the job that you do that ultimately affects how much we all pay for electricity. You spoke about the rate case, and Nevada Power is proposing to increase, as part of the rate case, the basic service charge by more than 50%. This means that you will have to pay more than $15 before you even turn on a light. This increase will disproportionately affect seniors, low-income, and low-usage customers. If the PUC approves this increase, then NV Energy will have the second highest basic service charge in the West, according to one source. We urge the PUC to say no to this 50% increase. We have all heard that NV Energy is asking for approximately $20 million increase that will result in about a 1.8% increase, and it's been advertised as the lowest in over a decade. What many people have not heard is that the PUC is also considering including what is called acceleration of undepreciated costs for closing coal plants. If this occurs, the total rate increase could be as high as $80 million. That is 4 times as much as what NV Energy has asked for, which could result in a rate increase possibly as high as 7.2%. 7.2%. Our question is, why should ratepayers have to pay up to 4 times as much as NV Energy is asking for? Why should the PUC give potentially $60 million in additional revenue to NV Energy, which they have not requested? An extremely problematic component of this case would allow for a prepayment option for electricity called FlexPay. Since you don't have to pay a deposit in this program, this would be a very popular option with low-income customers. However, the way the program works, when your prepaid balance hits 0, your electricity will be shut off and you will lose many of your protections, I've heard up to 14, under the Consumer Bill of Rights. Another problem is that you cannot be part of the equal payment program if you sign up for FlexPay or prepay. Prepay customers would pay in advance for huge electricity costs in the summer and have to keep track of their balance. Someone on a fixed income may not be able to keep up during the hot summer months. I don't want to have to worry if I have $50 in my electricity bank, or $5, or 50 cents. I don't want to come home and find out my electricity has been shut off because my bank has run out. NV Energy has said they will text or email you when your balance is getting low, but many people may not check as often as needed, or if they lose their telephone service or internet, then they never get those texts or emails. Some experts have called this second-class utility service. You have to pay in advance, and there's a small additional charge included. If people use credit cards, they'll end up with extra fees and interest. What this really does is give NV Energy your money in advance and lets them shut you off more quickly with less notice. AERP supports the Bureau of Consumer Protection's motion to strike this from the rate case. This is a bad idea and should be rejected by the PUC. NV Energy is also asking for a return on equity or profit of 10%. While the rest of us are struggling, why should they enjoy such a large profit? If the authorized return on equity was lowered to a reasonable amount, much of the $20 million rate increase they're requesting could be lowered. So, on behalf of the 300,000 AERP members across the state, we strongly urge the PUC to reject the 50% increase of the basic service charge, to not include accelerated recovery costs for coal plants, to say no to any prepay options, and to allow for only a reasonable return on equity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Gary Vesperman? Mr. Vesperman? Okay.
My name is Gary Vesperman. I live in Boulder City. For over 2 decades, I have been accumulating an extensive database of some of the world's most advanced technology and inventions. Recently, I compiled a gallery of various inventions and so forth, and I'll be leaving to enter in the record printout of short descriptions of about 50 new sources of energy. They are all available on one of my websites. If the audience wants to write it down, it's commutefaster.com/Vesperman.html. There's about 1,000 pages of my writing about high technologies and so forth. My purpose today is to make you, the Public Utility Commission, aware that there are potential alternatives to both oil, coal, and so forth. And for example, I have here a short description of what is called a hydromagnetic dynamo. There's a photograph of one that was built in Armenia and ran from 92 to 97. The output averaged 6,800 amps at 220 volts DC. No fuel, no radiation, no pollution. A donut-shaped hydromagnetic dynamo, about the size of a 2-car garage, can put out 1,000 megawatts, about half of Hoover Dam. Again, no fuel, no radiation, and no pollution. There are many other, well, I have here 50 sources of new sources of energy. And believe me, I can talk all day about these wonderful inventions. But the PUC needs to be aware that these inventions, these new sources of energy, do exist and deserve to be supported. It makes no sense to spend billions of dollars on subsidizing oil, gas, solar, wind, and so forth, when we have no money spent on clean energy invention. Again, my website, easy one to remember, is commutefaster.com/Vesperman, D-E-S-P as in Pennsylvania, E-R-M-A-N .html. I also have copies of a 2-page list of large generators, small generators, miscellaneous, over 2 dozen involving advanced self-powered electric cars, batteries, and over 25 methods of neutralizing radioactive waste. There is no need for Yucca Mountain. And I think we have pretty well given you the point of my little talk here.
Mr. Vesperman?
If any of you have any questions or want a copy of the 2-page list of inventions,
I don't know if we can do that, though.
Mr. Vesperman, why don't you give that information to Ms. Cordova?
you bet.
Thank you.
This is to be entered in the, okay,
Mr. Volz?
got a letter of invitation. And we have everything okay?
Chairman, this is Debbie. Could you have them spell their last names for me, please? Thank you.
Vesperman was V-E-S-P-E-R-M-A-N,
Thank you.
and Mr. Volz, V-O-L-T-Z.
That's correct. Good afternoon. Several comments I'd like to add to the record today, and one of them has to do with the notice, the Commission's notice of intent to participate as a commenter and or comments. It would seem for that form that the public or any other interested party should be able to file opinions or pertinent information from documented third-party sources regarding a matter at issue without having to file that form or do so in advance. It seems as though also the public should be able to provide information at a public hearing on any particular issue, even if it can't be included as formal evidence because of the quasi-judicial nature of the commission. As a corollary point, it seems as though there's a very inherent conflict of interest and built-in bias with the paid witnesses of parties to a docket that would potentially taint any evidence that they submit despite it being under oath. And that system might bear some reform. Also, large organizations tend to grow structural cost inefficiencies over time. And what might be prudent would be for the regulated utilities be required to reduce their administrative costs by a particular percentage, perhaps 10% over a period of time that might be 1 or 2 years, or in the alternative, provide evidence that they can't do so. Private industry routinely does this, and it does not seem to be an unreasonable request to expect a regulated monopoly to do the same. And speaking of the largest regulated monopolies and utilities in the state, they need to regularly, directly, and formally consult with their customers to find out what they want from their utility companies or what pain points need repair. It's not good enough to hire a third-party polling firm where the questions are somewhat structured to give a particular result. This sort of dialogue that should be happening on a regular basis, particularly, again, at the top 5 or 10 utilities in the state, which the PUC regulates, could become a very good diagnostic process for a monopoly utility provider to find out how it could do its job better. But in the same vein, the PUC might have ratepayer representatives from the various classes working with staff in formulating such things as the 5-year strategic plan, which was recently presented by the executive director. Another rhetorical question of sort, curious to know if there will be any future and retroactive review of whether the public interest, however that's going to be defined, has in fact been served by the Mid-American takeover of NV Energy, the largest takeover in state history. It was defined as being so when it was approved, but it would be very prudent for the commission to take a look at that, perhaps after a year or 2 of history has been formulated. And speaking of the regular meetings of the commission, and I'm speaking of the agenda and administrative meetings that are held every couple of weeks throughout the year, it would seem as though public comment should be taken by the board before voting on each action item, and this is allowed by the state open meeting law, rather than just at the beginning and the end of meetings. There are a number of items on the agenda, and they bear specific comments at the time rather than perhaps separated by 20 or 30 minutes of other issues being discussed. Another suggestion would be to have the commission's regulatory operations staff have employees with private business operations experience to review filings and requests from regulated utilities. As it's been defined more than once, most of the folks who work in the area of regulatory operations are either career regulators or are career utility industry employees, and it seems as though a fresh perspective could lead to better policy decisions. Also, if the Public Utilities Commission reviews capital structures and debt instruments of regulated utilities, reviewing the entity's choice as its top manager would seem to be a very appropriate and prudent step to take to serve the public interest. That did not happen with the recent appointment of Mr. Cadill by NV Energy and Mid-American, and that seems to be a flaw, again, serving the public interest. It doesn't seem to be serving it in that instance. Also, another suggestion for possible change would be to not have the PUC create a docket for the mere extension of time of a solar system installation. That would seem to be a perfunctory clerical function if somebody needs an additional 90 days. There is no engineering issue particularly, unless it's so stated, but most of them are perfunctorily granted, and it seems to be perhaps not the best use of the commission's time to have to go through that process and docket it. And that's it for now. I'll save the rest of my comments for Reno on Thursday. Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Lutz. I have Scott Morey, M-O-R-E-Y.
That's me.
compare myself, which was rather stupid. But just as an ordinary consumer here, small business owners put up their own money. They work their employees, the economy goes worse, they take it in the shorts right along with their employees. Big business, whether it's Goldman Sachs on Wall Street, B of A, Wells Fargo, so on, including the electric company, gas company, and so on. They raise the rates on people. If they're not making their percentage of profit, put it in their back pocket, we have to pay for it every time. I remember years ago, there was a big article in the paper, on TV. The electrical company was saying it's going to be a big shortage this year, it's going to be a hot summer, a lot of tourists, we might even have blackouts. So, turn your thermostats up. So the people of Las Vegas, turn their thermostats up. Saved a lot of electricity. Saved so much. The electric company didn't make their profit, so they raised the rates on us. Gas company, water company's done the same thing. Wanting to conserve, the people of Las Vegas conserve. The companies don't make their profit, so each quarter they're raising it on us. Don't quite understand that. Las Vegas is still, people in Las Vegas are still losing houses, 1,000 to 2,000 a month. Even though the paper, the government says, oh, the economy's getting much better. Well, the casinos are laying off big time. They're laying off their full-time employees that have been there for 10, 15 years, and they're hiring 2 people to work part-time for that 40 hours that full-time employee was in. So one person's losing a job, they're hiring 2 to do only the same hours and not paying the benefits. What was the other one? Oh, sometime when Oscar Goldman was mayor, big article in the paper how he deleted 100 jobs, city employees, city jobs. But if you kept reading that long article, right down towards the bottom, there was 100 new jobs that were filled. Now, a moron can figure out that one. So, it's just, if the economy goes crappy, and it still is, why do we have to pay for it? Because all the houses in Las Vegas aren't full. I go down my street, there's 8 houses that the banks are just sitting on. The papers are torn off the garages, they're getting broken into, the walls busted into for copper. There's still 8 empty houses on my street. You go through other neighborhoods, it's the same thing. Single block, and there's 6 houses empty. How's our economy getting better? But it's the same thing. The electric company, gas company, they still want that percentage of profit, and a lesser amount of people have to pay for it. It's just not fair. You ought to take it in the shorts like small business people have to. That's it, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Roger Walters.
I just have a couple comments to make, and I'm a firm believer that as a privately owned company, like any other privately owned company, they should be paying for some of this stuff themselves. They don't need the kind of profits they're seeking. There's no reason to give it to them every time they ask for it. And I believe that it very much is going to affect senior citizens who rely on air conditioning, who rely on lights in their house, and they don't have the money. They're not getting a pay raise. So I don't see the reason for them to get a pay raise. I never dreamed that my utilities, one of my utilities, was gonna cost more than my property taxes. So I think they're a little out of hand right now. And PUC gives them everything they want usually, and sometimes more. And I think we should put a hold on some of these things on this one this time. And it's mainly for the senior citizens. If they can't put a hold on it, then set up a plan for them so they don't pay the same amount. I think that would be one way. Thank you.
Robert Johnson.
My name is Robert Johnson. I live in Las Vegas. I decided to come here when I received information in the mail talking Nevada Power, doing business as Nevada Energy, and there's a list on the front page of energy sources, and the first three are fossil fuels. And I'm from Detroit initially, moved here in '09 and moved here for the sun. I wear a yellow shirt to remind you of the sun. Solar power is the future. That this Public Utility Commission has not propelled our energy provider in that direction is awful. I read where if we covered 2% of the deserts in the world in solar panels, we would provide all of the electricity needs of the world. One only needs to travel across the border into California to the Ivanpah project to see in action solar power. It's just amazing. Coal is the worst thing we can be burning. Oil, natural gas and oil come slightly behind them. We have the sunniest place that I've ever been in my life, probably one of them in the planet, and we're not using solar power. That's just insane. It seems to me like the direction we should be pushing our utilities is to take advantage of what we have right here. We have more opportunity for solar here than anywhere else I can think of. There should be solar panels on every business and every home. We should be getting, the utility should be buying solar panel, or solar should be buying energy power from businesses, from homes that produce it from their own solar panels. We should be selling that to Southern California, which it seems to me probably needs it. There should be, the whole model seems to me to be 180 degrees wrong. Instead of sucking money out of folks, we should be setting it up where people are making money off the solar power they're generating from their homes and selling it back to the utility so the utility can sell it to the 25 million people in Southern California. All of a sudden, the people here have reduced energy costs. The utility is making money selling it to a third party, and everybody's a winner. We have less pollution. We're now looking at, in May 10th, on Mauna Loa, the CO2 was over 400 parts per million. That predicts by the end of the century a 4 degrees increase in temperatures worldwide. That's a recipe for a mass extinction, which, if you've been paying attention, many scientists are saying we're at the front end of such a thing. The effort by, if the public interest is what you're all about, you have to change 180 degrees how this thing is being engineered. We have to be taking power from the wind, from the sun, instead of from the dirty sources we've been using forever that have contributed to the degradation of our air, of our water. Things are critical, things are urgent. and I'm told that you're now contemplating cutting off people who are supplying the utilities with excess power from their homes. You're going to cut that off and make them pay something, or that seems counterintuitive. It seems absolutely insane. The direction of the whole operation has to be to take advantage of what is so obvious when you walk outside. Why aren't we doing it? Why are we going in the direction we're going? I have grandchildren, and I think of them and their grandchildren, and if they're living at the end of this century, they're going to live in a horrible place unless we do the kind of things we have to do to reduce the pollution. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Bosnia?
Let's get rid of the greed and take care of our future.
For the record, Angel Fazio. These people think that since they have solar and receive the rebate, that they should be exempt from paying a monthly fee, AKA net metering charge. Since all of us are forced to provide for the rebates, they should be paying for using said NVE equipment when their solar panels are not producing enough power. There is no such thing as a free ride. Let the solar companies like Solar City fork over the rebate if they think their product is so great. By now, all these solar programs should be able to stand on their own. If not, that's their problem, not the non-solar ratepayers. Why should the poor subsidize those who can afford solar and don't need the rebate? I want entered into the record a letter from the Arizona PUC commissioner to Solar City. Also, there was a class action filed on March 28, 2014 in U.S. District Court, Northern California, case number 5:CV-01435-EDJ for violation of federal securities law, Dow versus Solar City. They've had numerous complaints filed with the Better Business Bureau. Apparently, that's when Solar City actually responds. Otherwise, predicated on the Better Business Bureau complaints, the customers are strung along. For example, according to Watchdog.org, the neighbor decided against using Solar City because it kept changing terms of the contract by continuing to reduce the amount of electricity that would be produced. Is this another Solandra in the making? Senator Jeff Sessions, Republican, Alabama, ranking member on the Senate Budget Committee, sent a letter to the U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew to express concerns that Solar City might become the next Solandra, a company propped on the back of taxpayers, not the product produced. From the letter of Sessions, section 1603 of the ARRA Act of 2009 created a program that allowed companies to convert solar tax credits from the investment tax credit to cash grants. The management of the program, according to the reports, caused the Treasury's Department Inspector General to launch an investigation into whether certain companies have been allowed to misrepresent the fair market value of the solar products they are producing and reap financial benefits at the expense of American taxpayers. Although the cash conversion program has ended, a 30% tax credit will continue to be provided until 2017 and 10% afterwards. Solar City, according to reports, has been at the forefront of the investigation. Solar City and other companies have been receiving a tax credit equal to 30% of their investment based on fair market value of their solar systems. Importantly, the fair market value is established by the company, not the Treasury Department. Solar City might have overestimated the value of its solar products. According to a recent article in Barron's, Solar City appears to use a more complex measurement than some other solar installers. While analysts estimate that Solar City's costs are about $4 per watt, the company reported fair market value often exceeds $6. The higher fair value, the larger the tax credit. The Internal Revenue Service is also auditing some of the company's financing funds, which Solar City depends upon to pay for solar installation. Solar City officials, including Musk's cousin and fellow Obama donors, Lyndon and Peter Rive, acknowledged the company's dependence on government support in its 2012 IPO filing. I quote, "Our business currently depends on the availability of rebates, tax credits, and other financial incentives," they wrote. The expiration, elimination, or reduction of these rebates, credits, and incentives would adversely impact our business. So basically, Solar City is following the same business model that Solandra outlined in their IPO filing in 2009, which stated that the now defunct plan to achieve profitability in part by strategically aligning our products with key government programs that provide financial incentive, export credit, and project finance. Commissioner, when these federal subsidies are cut, if Solar City thinks they're going to go to the legislature and ask us to fund the difference, they're in for a hell of an uproar. I can assure you the smart meter fiasco will be viewed as a walk in the park. Just because Sandoval and his economic board were stupid enough to buy into Solar City's hyperbole and taking $1.2 million of taxpayers' money to give to them as if Solar City needed the money, that should have been put into education. The PUC needs to open up an investigative docket about the ethics, efficacy of the product, business practices, and ability to sustain itself when the subsidies are dramatically decreased for Solar City before any of the current issues become an issue here. Also, in reviewing their requirements, this program, specifically Solar City, are not made for those on limited income or those who are not connected to the internet, as they demand a high-speed internet connection and router. So low-income individuals or those with credit problems will never qualify for these panels, who are basically the ones who really need to have some sort of energy expense reduction. So technically, in addition to the monthly fee for solar, they are forced to incur the internet fee, which will up the cost of this cost-effective system, especially if people don't use the internet. Now, the PUC and NV Energy tells people to set their thermostats about 80 or so that we conserve energy in the summer. Yet I noticed this room is set at a comfortable 74 degrees. Since the PUC employees get the luxury of a lower temp and a nice break from outside, while the ratepayers have to try and set it higher to cover the bills, I think the PUC and NVE, since they recommend a set temperature, then their offices should have it. Why should you get to have this nice chilly office and we go home and have to deal with 78, 80 degrees and we're paying for it? So nobody here, none of these employees are paying for this cool air. Maybe the ratepayers should come and hang out here and borrow your internet, and we won't have to use our power. That's all for now. Thank you.
Mr. Fazio. William Cooper.
Good afternoon. My concern is why consumers should have to pay for any R&D, closing coal mines in order to make funds. This all occurred and initiated back in 1975 with the establishment of AB 707, and it has just mushroomed. I think that from 1975 up through now, the intentions of the AB 707 should be reviewed and improved. Most of it, even at that time, reflected to ensuring that the utilities made money, and that money that they made would be taken from the consumers. I'm all in favor, and I request that you do not in favor of, but do not approve the upcoming almost 80% raise that is being asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Tazo Schaefer. And it's spelled S-C-H-A-F-E-R. Is that correct?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Tazo, T-A-Z-O Schaefer. I'm a former Dean of the University of Arizona Colleges of Business and also of the College of Engineering. I also serve as a volunteer with the Sierra Club as the Toyabe Chapter Legislative Chair, and I'm also on the Energy Task Force of the Sierra Club. I'm speaking here not as a representative of the Sierra Club. I'm speaking as an individual and a resident of the state of Nevada. First of all, I'd like to thank all the commission members for their service to the public. It's not an easy job you have. Your task is to balance the interests of ratepayers with the interests of essentially a monopoly utility structure. And that may be an impossible mission to do. It's very contradictory. Without competition, it's very hard to efficiently keep rates low. So I would urge you to do everything you can with whatever decisions you're facing to always consider not creating a situation where the monopoly doesn't have influences that enable them to compete and to be more efficient in their own management. Several people prior to me had some very good suggestions. I'd also think that it should be considered to have membership on the monopoly's board of directors to represent the state of Nevada and the ratepayers on their board to assure that there's direct input into their decision-making process, since they are a monopoly. I also would like to invite you to a march and to conferences on September 20th, 21st in New York City. Should be the largest global climate change, climate volatility gathering in the history of the world. And we would think that it would be in the state of Nevada's interest to have someone represent the commission there. In addition, I'm very interested in more energy efficiency, not only from the insulation and the obvious things that can be done within a property to make them more efficient, but to also consider building design, building orientation, and to put more teeth and regulatory. Utilities have to approve of structures before the power is turned on, and I think that codes and regulations to meet efficiency standards need to be much more significant. Rooftop solar and net metering go together. I think it's very important, and I do see that some of the Mid-American efforts are going to increase solar in the state. I'm very concerned about solar farms that are on undisturbed property. They do a great disservice to the environment, including the carbon exchange, and that every effort should be made to confine solar to rooftops and former ag property that have already been disturbed, and therefore we preserve the natural environment as much as possible. The other thing that disturbs me is the fact that the financing of distributed energy and rooftop solar is being hampered by the old models which don't decouple providing clean energy from the past paradigm, and that financing should be considered as a way that the utilities should be basically made to offer options for consumer financing of their own rooftop and on-site power generation, but not to control it. I know in Arizona, I believe it's Arizona Public Service has proposed that they finance all the rooftop solar over a large period of time, and that they actually pay every homeowner for the use of their rooftop to participate. And what that does is shut out competition from the marketplace, and they're very aware that the market and the world is moving toward renewable energy, and that they cannot stop that from happening, and therefore they want to have a monopoly on it. I think it would behoove this commission to make sure that there are competitive forces to influence the marketplace on behalf of consumers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Vicki Ferdinand?
Very good.
And that is spelled Pirttinen.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say that I agree with just about everything everybody said, but most importantly with the gentleman from Michigan. I am from Ohio, and I was amazed at the amount of sunshine that's here, and amazed that it's not used more efficiently than it is. My biggest concern is my grandchildren. I see what the fracking is doing back on the East Coast. I'm concerned that they're going to start doing that other places, and I want my kids, my grandchildren, and their grandchildren as well, to have all the benefits that I had without all the pollution. I don't want holes in the earth from the fracking and other things that are going on. And I think we need to do something for cleaner energy and more efficient energy. The city I came from fortunately had 2 electric companies, so there was a bidding war. If you had an all-electric house, you got a discount as opposed to, multi-fuel house. But the fuels are going away, and we need to, there's no way to replace them, but the sun's gonna always be there. So I think we need to use that more. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. John Bayetti.
Oh, already? That's me. One.
Tell me if I got this right. B-A-I-E-T-T-I.
Yes. And is it Elena or Alina? It's been so long.
It's Elena.
Elena. Yes, John Bayetti, or everybody calls me Big John. It's one word. Now over here, you're with the, on my right here, you're with the Attorney General's office, right?
Yes, correct.
You're with the consumer, with Eric's office.
Correct.
Okay, the thing about you over the years, if I may put this on the record, that you guys never do anything. Nothing ever happens. You come up with a study, you come up with an opinion, and it doesn't go anywhere. You don't do anything, is my point. Okay, that's our big grief against you. And I wanted to tell Tammy over here, Tammy, the thing is, what we come in here over and over again, and the people parade in here like cattle, nothing ever happens. Oh, Tammy's on. Oh, okay, yeah, it is Tammy. Okay, I'm sorry. The outcome of these meetings is a 0, okay? And whether you're here, representing or helping out with the process, whatever, the process goes nowhere. So in a sense, we look at the other people that are here and blame you for part of this stuff that goes on. Here's my big objective. Last time I was here, and can you help me with this, Elena? During the meeting on this last rate case we're talking about, David was here, and I brought up financial stuff, and David cut me off. And he said the financial stuff that I was going to bring up is not relevant. How did it, can you correct me? Am I doing something wrong?
I wasn't present in the.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, for like this rate case and things in the future, of course we can bring up financial information, right?
Well, it's part of a rate case. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but why don't you tell me what your current statement
Okay. It's the same old story, and it's funny as heck when I walked in here and the really generous and always available Tony Sanchez said, well, here we go again, another lecture on derivatives. And here's my point to you. Listen, I'm a big Brian Sandoval fan. I voted for him. I'll vote for him again. I'll campaign for the guy. I love the guy. I applaud the guy. But if this thing goes through, Brian Sandoval's going to pay. And we're going to show up at his office. We're going to meet with him. We're going to, wherever he's at. And it's not a threat. We're going to tell him that the PUC is not doing their job. This is a regular, we're going to sign the bottom and just push it through. How easy is this? I mean, how easy is this case? This is the easiest thing I've ever seen. Their net profit for 3 quarters was $60 million. That was their net profit. And that's only 3 quarters. And that's only this year. Their depreciation was $55 million. And as you know, depreciation is a non-cash expense. If you get paid $100,000 for being in the PUC, but you depreciate your car using the PUC, you depreciate the car $100,000, your income is 0. So if we ask you what was your income, you say, well, my taxable income was 0. How'd you figure? Well, the depreciation on my car. It's the same thing. It's a non-cash expense that shouldn't be included. Yet you guys look at the books like this is some kind of a joke. It's not a joke. They're using these accounting statements to sway you to saying yes. And nobody, not that, where are you, sir? I mean, honestly, where are you? Why don't you stand up and say, we're going to redo the accounting statements?
Well, Mr. Bayetti, I would respectfully disagree with you. Our office diligently reviews the utilities filings. And
I said that.
We do present recommendations to the
It never
Commission
works.
for its consideration.
Right, I said that, and it never works. It's never worked, never. Okay, your record is 0, sir. You strike out every time.
Well, that is your opinion.
Well, anyway, on this thing here, we are so sick and tired of parading in here time after time, over and over. And again, like Mr. Sanchez said, oh, here comes John Bayetti. Here we go, derivatives. Nobody knows what derivatives are. And I'm not going to put you on the spot Tammy over here, or you, to explain derivatives. It's extremely complicated. And what I was gonna bring up at the last meeting was my accountant, who's one of the best in Vegas, Stephen Nelson, he's absolutely one of the best, been around forever. I asked him a few weeks ago, hey, Steve, explain to me what derivatives are. He goes, well, I know what they are, but I can't explain it. This guy is a going CPA with a major CPA firm, and he can't explain it. And again, what's happening here with Mr. Sanchez's reports are, they're skewed totally legally, completely above board, beautifully done to their favor. And what I suggested before, and I even went and researched this at UNLV, that the UNLV accounting department would take this on as a class project for a year or whatever, absolutely free, and redo the financial statements. The director of the accounting department for UNLV said they'd be glad to do it. Okay, so we've got a system that will do it free, absolutely free. And why don't you ever ask, and Ms. Burnshaw, you seem like a really nice person and you conduct things really nice, and you know, you guys are here, whatever, please, I'm not beating anybody up here. But why don't you just ask Mr. Sanchez to bring us back another set of books? The hell we keep reading the same stuff for? Nobody knows what derivatives are, nobody knows how to use it. I'll tell you one thing, and some of the people here can appreciate this, this is easy. They take things that are like on a balance sheet that are assets, and they change them to liabilities. They take things that are revenues, and they change them to assets. They manipulate the balance sheet and the income statements. That's what derivatives do. Did you know that, sir?
Well, I have no comment.
Okay, well, I'm just saying right now, just so maybe we get one thing off the base here. Derivatives manipulate the balance sheet and the income statement in extremely complicated ways. Oh, you have to really, when I took advanced accounting, we talked about it for like 5 minutes because it was too advanced. It's just too much stuff involved. And when somebody hands you a set like that, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. When I asked Mr. Tony Sanchez, can you give us another set of books? How about give us another set of books? You know what he said? No answer. I asked him again, can you give us like another set of books? Let's do another set of books. No answer. Okay, I only look stupid. I know I'm not that smart, but okay. But I only look stupid. And somebody who doesn't answer a question, hello? Did I just hit a home run? Did you just pitch me a fastball right down the middle and I knocked it out? What's the matter? Why won't you answer that? And the reason he won't answer it is his books, and here's the funny part about it, they get audited, so what? We don't want them audited. That means nothing to us. Oh, we had our statements audited. So what is that? That's the the one left hand feeding the right hand or something. What's the big deal there? We want a whole new set of books to make decisions on Nevada energy. We have a strategy too that's going to ask NV Energy and Mr. Sanchez here to lower the rates. We're tired of this crap, okay? No, they're not going to go up anymore. They're going to go down to 10 cents. We've got a couple companies right now that I've actually talked to in Texas that is more than willing to sell us electricity for 7 cents. Not 12, not 11, not 10, 7. Now see, that's what you should be doing. See, you don't do that. You come up with a solution, well, we understand that this isn't good and we're against it. So what? So are we. So is everybody that breathes. The $25 million is Warren Buffett's pocket change. But $25 million to thousands of seniors is a frickin' bunch of money, sir. And we keep saying it over and over and over, and we're tired of it. I've been coming to these for 20 years, 96. And I've probably been through, what, 4 or 5 PUC boards? And it's the same story every time. It's the same stupid game. Like Mr. Sanchez says when I walk in, here we go, what are derivatives? Here comes the lecture. And then, of course, afterwards now, we're going to all vote this through and give them the 25. Because you know what? It's the smallest increase. But you know what? Garbage in, garbage out. You need to stand up, Elena. You need to stand up and say, Mr. Sanchez, we understand you're processing this, but we're not going to accept these documents anymore. We understand you got this set of books. You're going to give us another one. Or we're going to go out and get them. And Brian Sandoval better come on board on this to save the consumer and stop pushing this crap down our throat every single time. We want the rates lowered to 10 cents. And if they can't do it, we've got a strategy to bring in the competition that will. It has to be passed, obviously, with the legislation. But we have 2 state legislative people that are with us all the way to present this and get it through so that we can bring in another company. So if Mr. Sanchez doesn't want to sell it for 10 cents, then don't do it. We're not going to, this is the United States of America. We're not going to tell him what to do. If you don't want to sell it at 10, then don't do it, Mr. Sanchez. But you know what we're going to do? We found 2 companies that will. And if you're not going to do it, they will. I talked to the president of one of the companies. He said, absolutely, we'd be glad to sell electricity in Nevada. I said, because that's what we're getting at. Because all it does, it's the same silly game where the PUC is nothing more than a headstone or whatever, a kingpin of the utility. It's a monopoly here. You guys treat them like this is some kind of fair game and it's a fair enterprise. And unless you guys on the side can do something, you know what I mean? There's nothing, this is a silly game here. So we want statements, we want them redone by somebody, completely redone, to show the other side of the business. And this little $25 million has already been paid for with their net income. They made 60. Their depreciation, for Christ almighty, is 55. You should just throw that right back in 20 Sanchez right here. So, sir, your depreciation was 55 million. That just paid for your 25. See ya. Goodbye. See you in a few months. And then we're going to work on what Mr. Sandoval's going to do with this PUC, where you guys need to make decisions for us. Okay? That's what we're looking on this. To me, this is absolutely the straw that breaks the camel's back. Absolutely the straw that's going to break the camel's back. We've had it. We've absolutely had it. This one gentleman who's not here, and I can't believe it, the colonel in the Air Force, you weren't here. This guy is brilliant. And he's got a great idea on how to do it. And it'll help you and your family and your friends and Tammy's family and help you guys. It'll help everybody. It might help Nevada Energy, which we all love. We love them and we love their employees. But we're not going to sit here and be raped and beat to death over 13 cents a kilowatt hour when we should be paying 10. That's it. Let's do it, okay? Let's not have me come back here in a few months and say the same thing again. You don't want to hear that, do you? Right? You do?
Mr. Baedi?
Yeah.
I can't speak for the commissioner or staff, but
Yeah.
the BCP is always very appreciative of your comments.
Well, and I appreciate you, and we appreciate you guys being here, so let's try to do something, okay? Why don't you do my idea? Do my idea. Call UNLV, I'll do it for you. Call UNLV, Director of Accounting, and tell them we're going to send the books over. Mr. Sanchez will do it, and we want them redone. It's a class project. Let's do that, okay? And let's see what they come up with. Right? Good idea? Is that a good idea to you?
Mr. Baedi,
More insight? Oh, no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baedi.
Yes.
You ever heard of
Bruce
manipulation of price?
Ruger? R-U-G-A, I think that's an R. Is that an R? Ruger?
My name is Bruce Ruger. I'm an optional time of use customer for NV Energy, and I'm complaining about the difficulty of verifying that I am being properly billed for my energy consumption. The legacy time of use meters display date, time of day, accumulated total energy usage, accumulated winter energy usage, accumulated summer peak energy usage, and accumulated summer off-peak energy usage. They also identified which of the seasonal categories was currently active. The new standard meters which have been installed only display accumulated total energy consumption. That makes it difficult to verify that I am properly billed during the summer months, June through September. NV Energy should program its time of use meters to display the seasonal energy usage tiers in addition to the total accumulated energy usage. Also, given that NV Energy has repeatedly stated that it wants to give its customers the ability to manage their energy consumption. They should also program their standard meters to display the instantaneous rate of energy consumption. It's hard to manage one's energy consumption without a convenient means to measure it. I am also a participant in NV Energy's CoolShare air conditioner load management system. The payment of the 2013 participation rebate was delayed until June 26th. Waiting more than 8 months after the end of the 2013 load management season to pay the rebate is, in my opinion, not acceptable. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ruger, have you had a chance to talk to the Consumer Division about these issues?
No, I haven't.
I would urge you to have a conversation with Ms. Cordova, and she'll direct you to the right persons who are looking into this.
Okay.
Mike Marks. And that's M-A-R-K-S.
I'd like to speak on behalf of the middle class. I'm a resident of Las Vegas here. 8 months ago, on December 19th, 2013, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway Energy acquired NV Energy for cash consideration of approximately $5.6 billion. Buffett said Berkshire has poured, quote, poured billions and billions and billions of dollars, unquote, into his energy business and said, quote, we're going to keep doing this as far as the eye can see. The rich, the super rich, keep getting super richer. NV Energy stock went up 23% on news of the takeover. The super rich keep getting super richer. And I even believe that the CEO, Michael Yakira, got a $12 million bonus based on this purchase. The super rich keep getting super richer. In the meantime, the middle class in this town are getting squeezed. Talk to any cocktail waitress or any dealer, which there are many thousands in this town, of course. Their hours are getting cut. They're being moved from full-time to part-time. Even where I work now, they will not hire a dealer to work more than 3 days a week because they're afraid of going over the Affordable Care Act 30-hour limit. So we have all these middle-class, what used to be nice full-time middle-class jobs, moving into part-time jobs that are just not able to sustain a family or sustain a middle class. And this town relies on the middle class, not just here in Nevada, but the middle class throughout the United States. Now, should we go to our politicians? Harry Reid, Barack Obama, they're sock puppets to Warren Buffett. You are our last line of defense. You're all we have to help the middle class stay alive in Nevada and help keep this town prosperous. Because without the middle class, this town stands very little chance of having a bright future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. And Michael Litt, L-I-T-T.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Litt. I represent Clean Energy Project, which is a nonprofit dedicated to powering the clean energy economy by engaging and educating Nevadans on the economic benefits of clean energy. I do want to thank you for holding this consumer session. We very much appreciate the ability to show public support in the community for policies that will grow our clean energy economy. I am happy to report that we had just under 2,000 Nevadans publicly support a variety of policies being discussed that would help continue to grow the clean energy economy. While not all of our signatures were directed to the PUC, we wanted to take the opportunity in this general consumer session to report to you on the support that we have found in Nevada. CEP has been educating our supporters on the proposed EPA regulations under Section 111D of the Clean Air Act. While we know this is ongoing, we have collected signatures from constituents and small businesses in support of Nevada developing a plan to reduce carbon pollution, and that was addressed to Governor Sandoval. Additionally, we found broad support for identifying a new energy efficiency policy to decrease statewide energy consumption by 2% a year through energy efficiency programs, and this was addressed to the Nevada legislature. Our remaining signatures are addressed to the Public Utilities Commission, thanking the Commission on the implementation of SB 123, and also signatures supporting net metering and the continued growth of renewable distributed generation in Nevada. By far, our most supported issue is in support for policies that will encourage the growth of distributed generation systems, such as rooftop solar throughout Nevada. As you can see, Nevadans overwhelmingly support growing our clean energy economy. We thank the commissioners and commission staff for your leadership and dedication in your strong role in doing so. And just want to end by saying that investing in our clean energy economy is an investment in Nevada. And with that, I'd just like to turn in our petitions. And again, thank you for the opportunity for me to speak with you today.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn.
Yeah.
Lisa, why don't you go ahead and just hand it to me?
Okay, great. Oh, nice photo op.
Actually, go ahead and to Mr. Saunders there. And
Thank you.
alrighty, that actually was the last card. Is there anybody else who wanted to fill out a card before we adjourn till 8 p.m. tonight? Okay, we'll be back here at 6 p.m. for the evening session.